Welcome to WNL Sports Weekly. I'm Jeremy Franklin. This week we'll speak with baseball coach Lucas Jones, men's tennis captain Michael Holt, and women's lacrosse captain Caroline Hutchinson. But first, a quick look back at the weekend in Washington and Lee athletics. Women's tennis remained unbeaten in ODAC play with a 9-0 victory over Lynchburg, while the men's team lost 6-3 to number 12 Johns Hopkins. Women's lacrosse fell 14-5 at 7th-ranked Salisbury, and men's lacrosse dropped a 13-9 decision at Franklin and Marshall. Laura Lemon posted the highest overall individual score as the riding team competed in the Holland Spring Welcome Show at the Virginia Horse Center. And the baseball team opened up ODAC play by splitting a road doubleheader with Virginia Wesleyan, winning the first game 5-3 before falling 8-4 in the nightcap. Joining me now is baseball coach Lucas Jones. Lucas, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You've replaced Jeff Stickley, who retired after 29 years as head coach, easily one of the most well-liked and respected guys on campus and around the ODAC. How have you approached your position here at WNL?
Well, it's a good question. And usually, when taking the job, it really is kind of the first time that question has been presented to me, because more often than not, it's usually questions about, what are some of the challenges that you may face, coaching at a high academic institution like WNL, or what are the facilities like, or, what are some of the advantages, disadvantages. But from a personal standpoint, I've never really been asked that question. And to be quite honest with you, I was a little nervous about it, just because, one, playing in a league and then coaching at Randolph-Macon for 3 years after playing, I have such a great respect for Coach Stickley and what he's done and the teams that he's had. And I know that, on campus he's beloved, and certainly so, just because of simply he's the man. And he's been doing it so long, and you think about, all the kids that he's coached over the course of his 29 plus years, whether it's been with the football program or specifically with the baseball program, and that's just an amazing accomplishment. And so being able to fill those shoes is certainly not something that I am capable of doing. He has left a lasting impression not only on the kids he's coached, but on this campus community. And the approach for me is, in a roundabout way, using him as the resource too, and having him around has been such an encouraging aspect of my approach, because he's kind of a step ahead of everything and can kind of give me some insight on what to expect, and whether it's kind of field conditions, or these are certain times during the season where the guys, may not be as focused, to kind of look for that, to try and re-engage, to maybe do something different to prepare. And so that's been great, and I've really appreciated that. And then from a personal standpoint, you just have to kind of believe in your own approach too, and try and create a culture that is not a program that is in pieces that you have to pick up and build upon. It's just simply trying to kind of, advance it in a new direction, a new way. And that's going to take, a little time, just because Coach Stickley was so ingrained in the culture of the program and was so successful for all those years. And so I just, having confidence in what we're doing and the process that we're, asking our guys to buy into now has been, kind of how I have approached it.
You were an ODAC Player of the Year at Lynchburg. You mentioned you were on the coaching staff at Randolph-Macon as well. How has the league grown and improved during your involvement with the conference?
It really has been pretty incredible to see the growth. Being removed from the league for 5 years, being an assistant at other universities and institutions. I think one of the big things is the inclusion of Shenandoah. And they've had a lot of success, and been to the World Series 2 or 3 times in the last 6 or 7 seasons. And then the evolution of programs like Randolph-Macon, and some of the newer programs that were just starting out in 2004, like Roanoke, and some other programs that I think across the board have made much more of a commitment to their baseball programs. And I think that's also, you can see that by the head coaches that are now in this league, across the board. It's just a really tough conference. When I played, there were certain teams that, were just kind of, there was a gap there between kind of the top teams and the bottom teams. And now you see, even after this weekend, the parity is great. I mean, there is just, no weekend is an easy weekend, and you have the team that's capable of sweeping, but also, you have the team that's being, that's capable of being swept just because everybody else is pretty good too. So I think that's been a pretty, pretty noticeable, difference, I think, between leaving Randolph-Macon and now coming back.
W&L has several quality arms. You've put up some good numbers in the field as well. Will the team's success this year continue to be built around pitching and defense?
No question. I mean, coming in, our game plan certainly is, to highlight our pitching staff. They've done a great job, and Coach White does a tremendous job with them and preparing them. And, that's really where, our bread and butter is. And from a defensive standpoint, it's just pretty simple formula. We're going to try and handle 27 outs and, limit those mistakes, and I think that's kind of the, certainly the backbone of this 2016 team. Offensively, it's kind of the irrational part. So you're dealing with, guys who are going through a season for the first time, and some that, just don't have the at-bats right now that they need, throughout their career to kind of make those adjustments. So it's constantly evolving, and we're teaching our guys kind of what our approach should be. And so I think as you see the season continue, we will definitely have some positive, development there. But yeah, defense and pitching is what we're going to rely heavily on, and is what we're going to kind of live by, throughout the rest of the year.
The Generals got that valuable road doubleheader split at Virginia Wesleyan, especially with the parity of the conference in mind. How important is it to get off to a good start in ODAC play?
Certainly very important. I mean, anytime you go on the road, it's very difficult to, to get a split, much less try and win two. So to be able to get a win on the road at Virginia Wesleyan, who has, last year had an outstanding year, finishing, I think, second in the regular season and being the 2 seed in the tournament, just gives our guys some confidence, and kind of just reiterates, what we've been telling them, that, hey, we've put you in position to be successful. You guys have the talent to do that. And, I think when you see some results for that, for that amount of work, I think that's great. And, moving forward, as we just discussed, on the other end of the spectrum, every weekend, every midweek conference game is going to be very difficult, and you got to work pitch to pitch, and you can't take anything for granted. Nobody in this league can be taken for granted anymore, like maybe it was in the early 2000s or when I played and coached previously. And so, yeah, we're trying to kind of ride the momentum, I should say, and not take ourselves too seriously, but understand our approach and just believe in the process of what we're doing.
Lucas, thanks for joining us here. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Jeremy, thanks for having me.
With me in the studio is Michael Holt, senior tennis captain from Henrico, Virginia. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
W&L has a couple of victories over ranked opponents this season, Cal Lutheran and Christopher Newport. You've been very competitive against top 15 teams like Johns Hopkins and Redlands. What have you learned about the Generals so far this spring?
So far, we've learned that we can compete with some of the better teams in Division III tennis if we continue to improve. We were obviously pleased to get the wins against CNU and Cal Lutheran, like you mentioned, but we struggled in doubles a little bit against those two top 15 teams. So we need to improve in that area if we want to compete.
The Redlands and Cal Lutheran matches were part of a Fed break trip to California. How can that experience benefit the team?
California was great for us just simply because of the high level of competition out west. Playing a top team like Redlands was great because it helped us gain some match toughness while also exploiting some of those weaknesses and figuring it and helping show us that we need to improve in areas like doubles.
You've had a great career so far. What kind of individual goals have you set for your senior season?
Honestly, I'm just trying to take it all in this season without setting too many individual goals. That being said, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I didn't want to make it back to NCAAs, but I'm honestly more concerned about helping the team improve and just enjoying this last go-round because I realize just how much I'm going to miss it when it's all said and done.
The ODAC seems to get more competitive every season. What do the Generals need to do to claim another conference title?
I think the biggest thing is just to keep doing what we're doing. It comes down to working hard in practice and treating every opponent the same when we get to matches. And I hope that this combination will lead to another ODAC title. Fingers crossed.
Michael, thanks for joining us. Best of luck throughout the year.
Thanks for having me.
Here with me now is Caroline Hutchinson, senior lacrosse captain from Annapolis, Maryland. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
The Generals have opened up 0-4 against a difficult schedule. Why has the team struggled so far this year?
Well, I think that our record isn't fully indicative of our team and how we've been playing so far. Our first 2 games we fell by 1 goal, and last year we beat those 2 teams by 1 goal. So obviously really competitive games. Our F&M game, we held them to 5 goals, and they're a top 5 team. So I think that that was a pretty impressive feat for our team to put out as well. Salisbury, we definitely saw where we're struggling, and we look to improve in those areas in the next few weeks. But I think that we're still on track to reach our team goals and to not peak too early in the season, which is definitely important to us.
You're one of several players on the roster who have been a part of multiple ODAC titles, victories over ranked opponents, and NCAA tournament wins. How can you call upon that experience as you look to get some victories, bounce back from the tough start?
Well, I think I've been really lucky to be on amazing teams over the past 4 years. And I think that that really points to the fact that we can beat the top 10 teams, and we know we can. We beat Salisbury last year. Unfortunately, the game didn't fall in our favor this year, but we know that if we're playing to our right level of competition and for 60 full minutes that we can beat them.
You mentioned earlier that you held Franklin and Marshall to 5 goals. The team is giving up under 9 goals per game. What have been the keys to success on the defensive end?
So I think there are a couple of keys to success. First, we have 3 goalies who are working incredibly hard. One is just an amazing coaching staff that really knows what our defense, what our successes and our weaknesses are on the field, and they coach us to that level. And then another is our communication on the defensive end. We have a really tight-knit defensive group, and we all work together really well. We play off each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we communicate really well on the field.
The Generals were again selected to win the ODAC in the preseason coaches poll. What are your expectations for the conference this spring?
Well, since I've been here for my 4 years, the ODAC has definitely gotten more competitive every single year, and I expect a big competitive tournament in the ODAC this year. But I think that we should be able to prevail in the ODAC tournament again, take the championship, and then have some momentum leading into NCAAs.
Caroline, thanks for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
It's time now for a look at the upcoming weekend. 2 WNL athletes will compete at NCAA championship events in Iowa. Ron Tassoni will represent the wrestling team at the national meet in Cedar Rapids, while Dana Lee makes her 3rd straight appearance at indoor track and field nationals at Grinnell. On Saturday, women's lacrosse plays host to 6th-ranked Gettysburg, while baseball visits Lynchburg for an ODAC doubleheader. Men's lacrosse opens up conference play at home against Hampton-Sydney, and men's tennis takes on Mary Washington. And on Sunday, women's tennis will travel to Randolph-Macon. For WNL Sports Weekly, I'm Jeremy Franklin. Thanks for watching.